Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Woodstock, Georgia, it's time for Cherokee Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Welcome to another exciting and informative edition of Cherokee Business Radio. Stone Payton here with you this morning, and today's episode is brought to you in part by Alma Coffee. Sustainably grown, veteran-owned, and direct trade, which of course means from seed to cup, there are no middlemen. Please go check them out at myalmacoffee.com and go visit their Roastery Cafe at 3448 Holly Springs Parkway in Canton. Ask for Harry or the brains of the outfit, Letitia, and please tell them that Stone sent you. You guys are in for a real treat this morning. Please join me in welcoming to the broadcast. First up on Cherokee Business Radio this morning with TimeWise Financial, Mr. Matthew Atwood. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Stone. Thanks so much for having me on.
It is a delight to have you in the studio. I think maybe we initially connected at YPOW or Woodstock Business Club or both. I don't know.
That's correct. YPOW, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So TimeWise Financial, mission, purpose. How would you describe what you're really out there trying to do for folks?
Yeah, of course. So TimeWise really tries to strip away the jargon. So we're certified financial planners, but what we found in our time in the industry is a lot of people's business model in this industry is to show their value to their clients by showing how much they know relative to the client, speaking over their head, if you will. And so we try to strip away the jargon and really align their portfolio with their purpose. And so that's a core tenet of the plans that we build is first focusing on, what does your ideal day in retirement look like? Because in our experience, a lot of people, when they lack structure, they've had structure for 40, 50, 60 years during their working years. And as soon as they quit working, if they're not careful, that all that structure kind of falls away and they can lack a purpose. And so first we want to design a purpose for their retirement. What does that look like? Travel, domestically or internationally? Does that look like some volunteer work in their community? What does retirement look like? And then we can design, a plan that aligns with that purpose. So that's really what we do at TimeWise.
So I got to ask, why finance? When our next guest, Trivon, and I were playing Cowboys and Indians or Cops and Robbers, were you like counting money? And what was the catalyst for you to get into finance, man?
Yeah, so at 17, I wanted to be a corporate attorney. That was my goal in life. And so I went to college and did about 9 weeks of a pre-law poli-sci program. And my roommate freshman year, both of his parents were successful real estate attorneys in the Atlanta area. Really looked up to them instantly because, I looked to get into their industry in one way or another. And they kind of gave me a warning at the time. And I wasn't really enjoying my coursework either. And they said, hey, if you want to be in a courtroom, just know that for every hour of litigation, there's about 20 hours of paperwork. And that didn't really sound like what I wanted to do. Wow. And so I was kind of at an impasse, and I was like, well, if I'm going to study something, I want it to at least have some value. And worst case, if it doesn't work out and I decide to go be a park ranger or something, finance is a degree path that will at least serve me. I can learn a little bit about how to manage my own money and put it to work. And I quickly became impassioned by the field. And I've always been an educator. And the reason, kind of one, point to validate that is when I would study for my tests, I would invite people to come in, classmates that is. And the way I would study for the test was to kind of teach them. That's how I learned, was to teach.
That's brilliant.
And so there was a charge, maybe like a Chick-fil-A sandwich to come in. And
Andy's making money. You hear this?
Right. I'd pay it.
Yeah. And so I always enjoyed educating and financial planning and working as an advisor to individuals who maybe their education is focused in engineering or some other field, really allowed me to do that. And that's when people ask, well, what does a financial planner do? At least at our firm, the core tenet is education. We like clients to know what they own and truly understand it. And so it really aligned well with my goals.
Okay, but that path has some academic rigor to it as well. So you went down that path for your formal education, and then there's tests and stuff you got to pass to be able to do what you're doing, right? Tell us about that, qualifications, credentials, that kind of stuff.
No doubt, yeah. So as soon as you get out, you've got some federal exams you got to take. The Series 7, Series 63, you might have heard about those. Mm-hmm. And those tests are no joke. They definitely, and I was actually starting my career at E-Trade, and the rules of the engagement were if you fail the 7, you lose your job. So I'm fresh out of school. Ouch. I got some student loans, and the test had a lot more I guess, meaning to my trajectory at the time because I couldn't afford to lose that job.
Yeah, no pressure.
And so, yeah. And then I went on and took the Certified Financial Planning exam, which also includes a rigorous, almost 4,000-hour course that you are required to knock out first. And so that really, I think, while it gives me the credentials in the industry, it really also, as a young professional in the industry, gave me the confidence that I truly do know what's going on because the test is proven to be quite rigorous, and I got through it. Not necessarily with flying colors. I definitely had some good days and bad days along the way, but I now can I guess back up my knowledge with the coursework that I completed.
Fantastic.
So you briefly mentioned E-Trade, and it's I'm under the impression that there are a lot of online opportunities to go and do your investing online. Is that what is the differentiator? How do you operate in a world that also makes that available to the layperson like me?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, time is money, and if you spend enough time, anyone can do exactly what I'm doing. You could manage your own portfolio, you could manage your own investments, but it's going to take an input, which is time. And so you can take the online route or use a robo-advisor, and finance, at least investing, in my opinion, is, 80% emotions while only about 20% head knowledge. And so managing your emotions along the way is the real challenge of being a disciplined investor. And so having an independent third party like us who isn't necessarily as emotionally attached to the dollars and cents in your portfolio, we're vested because we're a fiduciary and fee-based. So we have a vested interest in having your portfolio appreciate, but we can help you take a step back and say, we're focusing on 3 months of market performance right now, but your portfolio, we can show you historically over the long run, has never lost money. Over a 10-year period, a 20-year period, there's never been a single market cycle, even if we start in 2001 and include, 9/11, the Great Recession, the war over in Iraq, all those things that was one of the worst market cycles that we've seen in a long time. Your portfolio still made money over the long run. And that long-term perspective, that independent third-party perspective, is, I think, where we can really add value to any investor's portfolio.
So I resemble that remark because I can envision me getting a tip at the club, right? Right? And wanting to jump on it because I'm excited about the industry, or I just want to play. So I got to ask, do you ever find yourself almost being a therapist, because you're working with couples a lot, families and stuff, right? You got to have that.
No doubt. Yeah. And it's crazy what kind of, I guess you could say minor conflicts can come up in the meetings because two people in a couple may have discussed, we want to travel when we retire, but the whole time one may have been envisioned, travel up in Gatlinburg in the mountains and the other down in Fort Lauderdale, and so when we get close to the end, they may realize, hey, we aren't necessarily aligned in our purpose or our goals. And additionally, during those market downturns when people are really panicking, and the news nowadays, I tell people, back when a lot of my clients were my age, Walter Cronkite was on for 30 minutes a day. That was the only news coverage you got to see. And nowadays, we have 24/7 hysteria-filled news just flooded the marketplace. Yeah. And so it's much more challenging to keep your emotions in check as an investor. And so that is where we can really step in and add value for our clients.
So I know in my business with digital media, digital radio, there's a podcasting aspect to the work that we do. there are a lot of misconceptions. And so there's a great deal of education that we might do with a prospective client or sometimes even a guest so that they get the most out of hanging out with us and interacting with us. I got to believe that you run into a number of misconceptions and maybe see some patterns and maybe to the point that you already are pretty well equipped to get some of those out of the way pretty early in your conversations. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so I would say people, I guess, have a misconception of they just need to buy stocks, index and forget. They think that they don't necessarily need a custom tailored suit. And so, but what it comes down to is as you start to build wealth, there start to be some real tax implications you have to keep in mind. There start to be some estate planning strategies you might want to keep in mind. And the real question comes, once you turn 65 or 60 or whatever, when you reach that retirement, everybody might know how much they want to pool from their retirement. But we can help build a plan that, designed to strategically source those assets throughout your retirement and minimize your taxes. So I think one misconception of at least our firm is, or our industry rather, that it's quite simple at face value. And you can just listen to Clark Howard and do a few tips and you'll be set. But I really think, much like, I don't do my own CT scans. I don't do my own surgeries. There comes a point where you need to involve a professional.
Well said. So let's talk about mentors a little bit. And I'll ask on both sides of the equation, have you had the opportunity to be mentored at points in your career? And have you yet taken advantage of the opportunity to try to be a mentor to others?
Of course, yes. So in college, I started a student investment club at our university where it was for all majors. We had biology, physical therapists, some business professionals as well. And the whole purpose of the club was to, educate people about investing, but the real value that we had was we would bring in industry professionals from banking, investing, and other industries and have them really speak to what they do, how they got there, and it was an opportunity for the club members to connect with that person, and in one case, Lane Steinberger, he's a investment professional in the Alpharetta area who was a valuable mentor to me and helped me navigate my job selection as I was getting ready to enter the industry, and it was a very valuable experience. Now, on the flip, now that I'm in the industry and started to get set up, the opportunities to serve as a mentor have been to club members now, members that are still, UNG alumnus or is still at the school will reach out, and oftentimes I'll meet them for lunch, and they're just, I guess, overwhelmed with the decisions that are facing them, and I'll help them kind of navigate it and ask some of those questions that maybe they haven't really thought about their problem in a certain light, and help them find a solution or a direction as to where they should go. And additionally, we've started up an internship program at our firm, TimeWise, where we've, with KSU and UGA, are looking to bring on interns each summer to, give them an idea of what this industry is like. Is it a good fit for them? And maybe even an opportunity to join a firm.
I think that's fantastic. And my instinct is, and Trivon, maybe you'll agree with me, that when he mentors, they buy lunch.
Yeah,
just based on what we've learned so far.
Right. Chick-fil-A.
I think you've probably already touched on at least part of this answer with your comments about education being such an important part of your work. But I'll ask, I'm kind of wired. I came from the training consulting world, but I gravitated much more toward the sales and marketing side. I did a little design and delivery work, but I'm a sales guy, right? So I'm always interested. How does the whole sales and marketing thing work for a business like yours? Because I got to believe it's I mean, it would be tough. You can't just pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Trivon, would you like to explore some ideas for investing your hard-earned money?" What is the process?
It's very tough because our industry is so trust-based. So it's you don't just hand over your life savings and have someone management to a guy you meet off the street. You want to build some trust first. And so you look, nowadays for a lot of industries, web-based or social media-based marketing is a huge influx of their business. But even the big firms like E-Trade or TD that are huge behemoth companies in our industry don't get much engagement on their social media, and they're investing many more dollars than we are into those posts and those marketing efforts. And so the way we really are able to grow our business is through referrals. So by treating our existing clients to with the best level of service that we can, they get a level of confidence to where when one of their friends out on the golf course or at a dinner is talking about, they're getting ready to retire, we come to mind and they say, you need to give Matt a call. You need to reach out to him. Additionally, we can partner up with other businesses in the community. We call them centers of influence that are maybe in a related field. Maybe they are a CPA in the local area who they manage taxes, but they might have clients who have financial planning needs, and we can kind of scratch each other's back. And so those are really the ways, and it's a slow burn. A car salesman, when they go and try to create a sale, it's a very quick sales cycle. You just a prospect walks in, they enjoy the car, they don't, and you close the deal. Whereas our process is, because we have to build that trust, is a multi-month process where we're getting to know the client and ensure, hey, they are a good fit for us, because it's a fool's errand to assume that every person that walks in the door is going to be the best fit for our firm when there's hundreds of thousands of advisors across the country. But also, are they a good fit for, are we a good fit for them, rather? And so there's a little bit of a dance that happens in the first phase to make sure, hey, we align with one another, we're a good fit, because otherwise we don't want to waste their time or, and put them out by maybe they don't really align. They don't care about their purpose. They don't care about the core competencies that we offer. So we want to make sure there's a really good alignment there first before we even pursue a business relationship.
That's good.
So that makes me want to ask about, as a layperson, seeing all these people out there, particularly at this point in my career, we're on some list somewhere. We get invited to the steak dinners and all this stuff. And I got tickled the other day. I told Holly, I said, "Did something happen to our financial picture that I don't know about?" Because I'm used to getting an invitation to go to like Prime 120 or one of these things, and this one came and it was at Golden Corral. Is there something I don't know about our status? But no, the question is, are there some red flags that people and I should be looking for? Like, if you see this, run, do not walk, run away.
Yeah, and some of this is based on my experience in the industry, but there's some firms that operate entirely on commission. And so those firms, it's easy for, and not all the advisors in those roles do this, but it's easy for them to sell you a product, collect the commission, and never talk to you again, and not have that meaningful relationship with their clients. So I always encourage people to ask their financial advisor to ensure that they're bound to be a fiduciary. A CFP is always bound to be a fiduciary. So if you've got a professional who's a CFP, that's a good start. And make sure they're fee-based, because the way it works is with a commission, that professional collects all their payment on the front end, whereas we, as a fee-based firm, we charge a fee each year. But because our firm's revenue is dependent upon the size of your portfolio, if your portfolio appreciates, our fee appreciates as well. So we have an extremely vested interest in minimizing your participation on the downside while maximizing your participation on the upside and ensuring we all win together.
All right, so let's walk it through. Let's talk about me for a minute. It's one of my favorite topics. So my wife, Holly, she has a real job with a little company some of you may have heard of called IBM. And she's, I don't know when she's going to hang up her cleats, but it's on the horizon. And we're very blessed. We've done pretty well, and I own a pretty good chunk of the network, and I have this separate business here. So if we made it through all the muck and we found you, or you found us. What does that look like? Walk us through like the early steps of the relationship or the engagement. What could we expect as we get to know you and your firm?
Yeah, of course. So the first goal is we're going to have a get to know you call. And that's where we're just going to learn a little bit about why you're seeking the services of a financial planner and give you a little bit of information about us. It's where we first start to determine, hey, is this going to be a good fit? Because we do financial planning. If you're looking for someone to, open a bank account, like that's not necessarily what we do. And so first we want to make sure you are looking for the right services. Then we're going to set up an initial consultation. And this is more getting into the details of your financial picture. And we're going to learn more about your cash flow situation. What are you making now? What would you like to make in retirement? What type of estate plan you have in place already? Is it sufficient for your goals? We're going to learn all these details. And at the end of that meeting, we're either going to decide to pursue a financial plan or not. And if you guys like the vibe of the meeting and like the direction things are going and want to pursue a financial plan at the end of that meeting, we will spend about 8 to 10 hours between our team developing a financial plan for you. And then we'll have a recommendations meeting maybe a month or so after where we present all of our findings to you, whether your portfolio was aligned with your goals. Did you have any shortfalls in your insurance coverages? Did your taxes, were you overpaying in taxes last year? And then you guys can take that plan and do with it as you please. You may just want a second opinion. You've already working with a professional. You want to see if you're on the right track. You may enjoy managing it yourself. You can take that plan and implement it yourself, or you can decide to move forward with us and implement and engage us as investment managers, where we actually implement and monitor your plan going forward. And so that would be the initial process.
So you mentioned estate planning. So when there's something like that, an additional service that serves the entire mission and purpose of what we're trying to accomplish, and let me know if this is accurate, I can almost see you or somebody on your team being the quarterback. And you've got like best in class people. Like if we need an accountant or a estate planner, I get the idea that you've built this cadre of people that you know and you trust and you can trust with your clients. Is that accurate?
No doubt. Yeah, we work with a few people in the community. One, for example, is Mike Wooten with Cornerstone Estate Planning, who is just an all-star estate planner.
Well, thank you for that. I'll send him an invoice.
Yeah. And so we first review the client's estate plan, but we're not lawyers. We can tell you if there's a shortfall or maybe a blind spot in their estate plan that needs rectifying, but we can't actually draw up the paperwork. But we have partnerships with local firms that offer our clients discounted rates for their services to make sure that we get that in check for them.
Yeah. So I'm going to switch gears on you a little bit. It's a question I often like to ask because so many of the people who tap into our work, they are entrepreneurs or they might work for a firm, but they're really like CEO of Me Incorporated. I mean, they're on, they're running their own show. I'm interested to know where you go. And I don't really mean necessarily a geographic location. But where do you go for inspiration to get recharged and kind of get the enthusiasm back and get ready for the next wave? Is there an activity? Is it
Yeah. So for me, I really find energy in the outdoors. So areas like Lake Fontana up in North Carolina near Robbinsville, and one addition to that area is there's some really fun roads to drive. And for me, I'm a motorsport enthusiast. I really love a nice backcountry drive through the mountains. And I also love watching motorsport, whether it be, Formula One or MotoGP. And so these are some of the activities that I engage in that, on the weekends or during my time off that I guess allow me to recharge, and really spiritually, emotionally, all those things. Nature and being out on it, whether it be the Appalachian Trail or just out on the lake, is just a really great way to get away from all the noise that you can hear in the cities and reset.
Yeah, sounds marvelous. So we were talking a little bit before we went on air about Formula One, and it sounds like such a really cool ecosystem. I have a little bit of familiarity with NASCAR, but I've never been to a Formula One race, and maybe I'll start watching some on television.
Yeah, I would encourage anybody who's maybe interested in just scratching the itch of checking out Formula One to check out. There's a series on Netflix called Drive to Survive, and it gives a great glimpse into the world of Formula One. It's what got me into it when it released back in 2019, and it's really, I guess, sparked the enthusiasm for the sport. But it's an amazing sport, the peak engineering of motorsport, and it's amazing what innovations that we use in our cars today have trickled down from the sport, whether it be your ABS, your braking system, or your traction control. These were all things that were invented by technical directors in Formula One first for those race cars, and then trickled down to the manufacturers, and now are in the cars that we drive every day.
Pretty cool.
Who knew?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
All right, so before we wrap, let's make sure that our listeners know how to get in touch with you, speak with you or someone on your team if they'd like to learn more about some of these topics, maybe set up one of those calls that you mentioned, or get together with you, or go hang out at a Formula One race, or whatever you feel like is appropriate, whether it's email, phone, website. But let's leave them with some coordinates.
Yeah, of course. So I would encourage you guys to check out our website, TimeWiseFinancialLLC.com. Also, check us out on LinkedIn. We have some great videos we put out for our clients and people who follow us about what's going on in the market. So it's a great way to get a taste of the flavor that our business offers. And then you can engage us via phone at 770-420-2954, or shoot me an email at matt@TWF, that's Tom Whiskey Foxtrot Wealth.com.
I love it.
Like that.
Well, thanks so much for coming in and sharing your story, man. This has been every bit as much fun as I thought it might be.
No doubt, and I really appreciate you having me on, Stone.
Yeah, glad to do it. Hey, how about hanging out with us while we visit with our next guest?
I'd love to.
All right, gang, y'all ready for the headliner? He's been very patient. He's been nodding his head. He's been taking notes. Please join me in welcoming to the broadcast with Thompson Realty Group, the man himself, Trivon Thompson. How are you, man?
Doing fantastic, Stone. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. So what'd you learn in that last segment?
That we have a similarity in our love for Formula One.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, yeah. And, I mean, yeah, the financial world is pretty crazy, pretty cool. Yeah, there's a lot to learn there.
You never know what kind of connections get made in the studio when we do this. One of the things that I love about if you want to be the guy in town that is known for connecting people, get yourself a radio show. Right? No, seriously. I mean, because it's fun, whether you're doing it like out on site or in the studio, or even when you're doing virtual interviews. All right. So Thompson Realty Group. First question that comes to mind for me, probably for many of our listeners, instantly, guys, if you're listening at this, to this 6 months from now on demand on the site, we're in late July of 2022. So I know this is a little bit of a time specific question, but let's get like an update, like state of the market. What's going on out there, man?
So it's still pretty fun, still pretty active. We are still in an extreme seller's market. For instance, a balanced market is anything from 6 to 7 months of inventory. And what that means is if we stopped listing homes today, it would take 6 to 7 months to sell off everything that's currently on market. Nationwide, we're at 2.2 months of inventory.
Oh,
right. In Georgia, however, we're fluctuating between 1.6 and 1.8 months of inventory. So Metro Atlanta, if you whittle it down even further, it's even tighter. So we're a pretty hot spot. It's still happening around here. So even though the market is quote unquote slowing down, the slowing down is a factor of price deceleration. So what that means is, prices were accelerating at an extreme pace over the last 2 years. Some upwards of 30%, 24%, 18% in some markets. Now it's really more like 10%, 8%, 9%. It all depends. So just price deceleration, still going up, but not at a crazy rate.
Well, that's an interesting perspective. It reminds me of when I finally discovered that a federal budget cut wasn't like a budget cut at the house. Like, we did spend this on groceries and now we're going to spend this. It's like the increase is not as much.
Right. Yeah, it's all about the wording, right?
I tell you, Holly and I, we feel so blessed. We moved here a little over a year ago, and we put we have a little home right here on the edge of town. We kind of downsized, and we bought what my dad would call a patio home. Mm-hmm. And my first lily pad is Ips on the walk to town, right? So I'm right there on the edge of on the edge of town, and we just love everything about this community, and we feel so blessed because we went ahead and nailed this thing down without a contingency offer, because we felt confident that we could sell the house and we were able to work that bit. But we were able to get into it just a little bit before things went nuts. And then we've always been the Christmas house. So the big house in Marietta, she didn't want to sell it till after Christmas. So we got into that when we got that nailed down before Christmas. And then we listed this thing, and we never had to show it. We were asked to leave one time just when they first were getting the word out, and the first family came in, made a full price offer. And I don't know, maybe we left some money on the table, but I thought, man, the headache of showing it and all that, the money worked, and I just dusted my hands off and said, yeah, right. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll take it. So we feel so blessed. And, from my understanding already, at least on paper, the value of our little place has, really appreciated remarkably. And then the other reason we feel so blessed is whenever family comes to visit us, even here in town, but out of town family, they're like, "Oh, we want to live here," So and we actually I have a sister-in-law, one of Holly's one of five. She's very seriously considering it. Right? She wants to. She's already retired. She wants to come here and live. So it's a wonderful community. It's a great place to live. But all that to say, everything you just described must be true in spades for this whole Woodstock, Cherokee County area, right?
So Woodstock is very unique. So, the appreciation in Woodstock was immense. Yeah. That's just one word to describe it. Nowhere else have you had prices almost double in a couple of years here. You've probably seen, estimates on your equity, right?
Right.
And you go, you rub your eyes and you go, is that correct?
The only problem is I don't want to go anywhere, so I'm never going to. My kids are going to get that, right? Because I'm not going anywhere.
Absolutely. And you're here and that's just a small bit of the story too, because a lot of people, they want to know, hey, where am I going to go next? If I want to move from here, or if I want to get out of downtown Woodstock or wherever I'm at, like we moved from East Cobb back in 2019, just before this thing took off, right? We bought in summer of 2019, and we didn't know what was going to happen, and that was, I was actually a year later, I left my corporate job, and in the middle of COVID.
Wow. Did you really?
I did. And so, there goes that. But I'd already been investing in real estate. So I figured, hey, why don't we move up to Canton, buy our place, make some roots, get the kids in some good schools, and call it a day. And we did. And our equity, let's just say we've added a couple $100,000 to our equity as well since then. So it's been wild to see that. That's an almost 40% increase for us. Yeah, almost 50%. So it's crazy.
All right, so that's the residential primary residence kind of thing. But let's talk about real estate investing, because you personally are a real estate investor and you help people along these lines.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things I'm most passionate about. So back in, 2018, I reread the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I had read it maybe 8 years earlier, right, before I got into my corporate job. And I read that book, and I also read Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged. And my mind, talk about you melt one brain away and grow a whole new one. Yeah, so the Ayn Rand's book changed my mind. Reading Rich Dad Poor Dad again, it reignited a fire in me, and I kept asking myself, why don't more people do this? Like this is the American dream, literally, to work, save your money, invest, and then live a carefree life, right? I mean, most people only dream of that in other countries. My parents, for instance, they came from Jamaica, brought us here to have a better life. Wow. And I had no clue. My dad was the poor dad in that book. So it was really inspiring to read that and see that there is a way out instead of working till you're 97, just to afford the place where you live. But yeah, that's how I got started. 2019 bought my house, and then we got 2 more investment properties in January 2020 and then July of 2020. And then, I left my corporate job with that August. I took a 6-week sabbatical or whatever you want to call it, because, my mind was just changing constantly. I kept reading. Like, one of the books I read was Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And that was another mind meld, right? So it was my whole psyche, my whole mindset was changing. And I didn't want to work for somebody else creating their dream, leaving mine on the table.
Right.
So, I left that job, and I was, chilling for a little bit because, you're in corporate for 10 years and you're just chilling and, relaxing. And the fiance was like, so when are you going to get a real job? I was like, well, I'm taking my time. I'm relaxing. I'm decompressing, I've got to get my mind right. She's like, no, you need a job. So I was already doing real estate investing. I was already deep into it, reading books like, the BRRRR Method and the Rich Dad, Poor Dad's Guide to Investing and all this other stuff. So I figured if I really want to teach people how to do this, and if I really want to get the most out of this, I'm going to be a realtor, and I'm going to help people learn how to invest, not just buy and sell or help you build your dream home. But why don't I help set you up for the future? Show you how it can be done and help you get educated. Yeah. And that's where all of this was born.
Okay, let's talk about me some more. Yay! So Holly and I, the big speculative stock in our portfolio is Business RadioX, right? Because Lee and I are trying to grow the network, and I'm one of the 19 folks that have a studio like this, and we're in 37 markets. We're trying to grow this thing, and then we do have like the 401k stuff invested from the real job that Holly has, and we've been blessed. We've done pretty well by my standards anyway. We don't have any real estate investments other than a property that Holly owns a fourth of, because her sisters or a fifth of, or whatever it is, of a place. So let's say Holly and I and you, we sit down, we have a cup of coffee, and we say, okay, Trivon, we want to take a look at this real estate investing thing. What does that look like? What is that conversation like? So
I like an in-person conversation. I'm kind of old school when it comes to that. So if you are okay with that, we'll sit down, have some coffee, maybe, Black
maybe
Rifle. Beer. Okay, or beer. Let's talk beer market. Yeah,
you got to know your customer, Trivon.
Exactly. So, I'm flexible. I'll go wherever.
All right.
So we'll sit down and we'll have what kind of like a discovery meeting. So what are your goals? What does real estate investing look like to you? And once you're finished talking about that, I'll show you how your goals can fit into either a buy and hold situation where you purchase a property, you put some renters in it. You do a fix and flip where you purchase a property, you renovate it, and then you resell it, right? That's a part of the BRRRR Method. Or whether a real estate investment trust is better for you. So that's called a REIT, and there are quite a few of those around, and Matt's shaking his head here, so he knows.
Right.
So, Cardone Capital is one of the more famous ones of late.
Right.
By Grant Cardone. And then you have Open Door Capital by Brandon Turner, and he was one of the founders of Bigger Pockets, which is a great resource for anybody looking to self-learn about real estate investing.
Right.
So, Brandon Turner, he generally deals with mobile homes and mobile home parks, which a lot of people really don't think there's a lot of money there, but there's a tremendous amount of money in mobile home parks. Yeah, I mean, people pay on time for the most part. There's little to no maintenance, because for the most part, they're taking care of the stuff themselves.
Right.
You hire a property management company to come in and take care of most things for you, and you're living a hands-off, carefree life. So, it's all about whatever route you want to go down. And then depending on, let's say you do a buy and hold, we'll talk about how you separate your cash flow, your cash on cash return, your property management fees or capital expenditures, or whether you want to put the extra money back on the principal of the loan to pay the property off faster, to appreciate your value more quickly. It all depends on what your strategy is, how close you are to retirement or how close you are to your goals. We even punt it over to a financial advisor, right? Financial planner, right? To see how those will fit into your goals. And then we'd be off to the races, purchase the property, and, learn from there, go from there.
So are there some differences in funding this kind of thing, borrowing money for this kind of thing from what it is like when we're doing a primary residence?
Absolutely. There's a myriad. So, let's start with the one with the most stigma, hard money loans, right? Let's start there.
Okay.
So hard money loans get a bad rap because, it's like dealing with a loan shark. But I mean, they've grown into a wonderful industry that, treats you just as well or even better than your traditional mortgage lender. I've got a relationship with one guy right now, Matt Lineberger. I mean, they are charging, now this is with excellent credit, 7 to 8% on a hard money interest. And that's unheard of. You saw his head turn, right?
Right.
So, but you don't ever see a hard money loan with interest in the single digits. Like nobody sees that.
Gotcha.
But the guys at Lehman One, they can offer that. So, hard money's, for people that don't know, 3 to 6 to 9 to 12 month loan that it's a short term loan, obviously, and at the end of the term, all of the money is owed. So this would be a good fit for fix and flip. So,
got it.
You buy a property for $150, it takes $60K to fix it up, to flip it. You have an ARV or after repair value of $275. You're going to walk away with a good chunk of change there. But that's a dream scenario though right now. So, nobody go looking for that.
But if you have a good credit rating, this is I was going to say something to go explore. No, don't go explore. Have a beer with Trivon.
There you go.
Because these different paths are going to fit different personalities, different sets of objectives. There may be a little couples therapy involved for you too. Because
yes.
Holly's, I thought we wanted to do this. Well, no, I was thinking we'd do that.
Yeah, and that's when I tell you, well, let's lay all the options on the table. You guys go home and talk, and then call me later.
Right. So I asked Matt a similar question, but I'm interested in where the business comes from. Like, again, I don't know that a billboard, I don't know that that's really necessarily the ideal path for a guy like you, right?
No. You do have realtors that are on billboards and big teams that are on billboards, but I find it personally more gratifying to network with people or meet new people and go out and talk to people. And just, if what I do comes up or if I bring it up and you're interested, we'll talk. It's not a thing to where I'm just going to go throw it in your face 24/7.
Right.
This is an organic conversation, and you can't force somebody to invest in real estate. I mean, it's one of the best returns on investment over the last 30 plus years. I mean, it's beaten stocks and bonds and so forth and so on for forever. So it speaks for itself. But you can't just tell people that. One of the sales tactics, you're a sales guy, is asking people towards the issue or towards the solution.
Yeah.
Ask them the questions, and then they'll turn around and they go, oh, and that's when they'll go, all right, let's talk about investing in real estate. So you never force it on anyone. You just show them what it can do, ask them what their goals are, that kind of deal. But I like meeting people. I like going out and meeting people, sitting down for a beer. And having a conversation, and then if it comes up, it comes up. If not, hey, let's just be friends. Cool.
Yeah, and when you genuinely invest in a relationship like that, even if for whatever reason, Holly shuts me down, or we decide to get a golf cart this summer instead, or what? Let's see, that's the other thing, right? You're the guy who knows the guy because you invest in those relationships. Still, when I'm down in Florida hunting with Rusty, and he says, I got to tell you, this conversation happened. Russ really enjoys the mountain biking, and of course, we're like apparently, nirvana for the mountain biking, and he's got this idea of getting a place that he would rent out and rent to bikers, right? So and I said, well, if this is something you're seriously considering, if it's going to work, let me in, and I'll pay you back later.
Partnership.
My brother's younger, better looking, and makes more money than me. I don't like him at all.
You don't say.
I have no use for it. But no, I'm much quicker to mention you to him. You never know where things are going to go when you just establish that genuine relationship, right?
Absolutely, and that's why I love it so much. It's part of why I love meeting people. I like serving people, and if I can't help you in my profession, and you need something else, I've got a guy. I know somebody that can. That's fantastic. I'm the connector. So that's it.
So you mentioned several books as we were talking. I'm curious, what's on your nightstand right now? What are you reading now?
So I just reached the end of Profit First by Mike
Yes, we interviewed him.
Yeah. Oh man,
we run our business on those principles.
Yeah,
we being me and Lee, and here in my shop.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. Like to understand that you take your profit first instead of the end. I don't know. He says in the book, it's mind blowing to everyone because nobody does it, and it's never been done like that before. So that's wonderful. And then what am I rereading right now? I'm rereading The Burr Strategy, right? And I just started listening to Ed Mylett, and I have one of his books in my Audible library right now, but I can't remember the name. But the Ed Mylett Show, the podcast, and his books, great guy. So that's what's on my nightstand right now.
Well, I gotta say, I love the advent of audiobooks. I love the advent of the podcasting community. There's so much content out there, and you can wade through that and get a hold of what you want. Mm-hmm. But something that you said really kind of created a twinkle in my eye, and I think it is so powerful to reread. Mm-hmm. Especially these classics that are just chock full. It's like, you'll learn something new and different every time you do, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. And it's like, how did I miss that the last time? Or why wasn't I paying attention on this page the last time? So much so that you want to take notes and you write stuff down and you're like, all right, cool, I have to use this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I reread a book, that's the way it is.
So you've been at it a while now. Clearly it's working. It's going to continue to work. What are you finding the most rewarding? What are you enjoying the most about this work, maybe versus corporate or just, by itself? What are you finding the most rewarding?
Well, let's just, I can choose who I want to work with. No, just kidding.
No, that's important, right?
It is important. For sanity, for happiness, all that good stuff. But the most rewarding part, especially on the residential side, is the finality of emotions that come across the table when you're sitting at that final closing table and you see the relief or the happiness or the relaxation in your client's face. Like, I finally sold my place, or I'm finally buying a house for the first time, or the 10th time, or whatever it may be. That is satisfying to me. And to know that I had a hand in helping them get there, brings joy to me every time.
I'll bet. So you are such an enthusiastic person. Your authenticity, your vigor for this work, it comes. I'm sure it comes through over the airways. I guarantee you guys, it comes through here in the studio. And you're human. You gotta, from time to time, your battery's got to be running low. So I'll ask you a question, the same one I asked Matt. Where do you go, man, to kind of get recharged and get inspired? Is it the books, or is it beyond that?
So the books, yes. I like to sit down with a good book and relax. But I don't podcasts as well. Going outside, taking a run, and CrossFit. I mean, I call myself the CrossFit and Realtor for a reason. So,
he's a very fit guy. I don't know if you can tell from his headshot on the published piece, but yeah, Trivon is very fit. He reminds me of the Old Spice. You ever watch the Old Spice?
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm on a boat. Now I'm on a horse. Yeah, he's that
I'll
guy.
take that as a compliment. But yeah, them throwing some weights around really, really relieves some stress. I mean, yeah, I like doing it first thing in the morning, because if I don't do it first thing in the morning, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to get too busy. So, it's another book I read, Eat the Frog. Do the thing that's going to take the most time or that you hate doing the most in the morning.
Who is that author? We interviewed her years ago. Oh my gracious! I'm going to dig that up for you. And I'm going to send it. It's funny. I don't remember the author's name, but I remember that title has marketing legs.
No doubt.
Yes, it does.
But it's such great advice, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, eat the frog. So explain to him what that means. Eating the frog.
The concept is, nobody wants to. Most people really don't want to get up and work out at 5:30 in the morning.
Right.
Who wants to go do that, right? But are you going to do it later after you get off work? What's the likelihood of doing that? Exactly. So wake your behind up, go to the gym, get going, and you'll be re-energized and after doing that, everything else seems easier.
Yes.
Everything else is downhill after that. Do the thing you hate the most. If your job includes making cold calls and administrative work, make the cold calls first. Get that out of the way. And then you're done after a couple hours and you go, I don't have to do that for the rest of the day. So, eat the frog. Do the thing that you dread doing the most in the morning, and the rest of the day will serve itself.
Yeah. And side note, how impressed are we all that I've interviewed two authors that you mentioned?
Very impressed. Personally.
All right, let's leave our listeners with a way to touch base with you, man. How can they get in touch with you and sit down and have that cup of coffee or beer or whatever?
Or beer. So, Trivon at kw.com. 404-967-1314. You can catch me on Instagram at crossfit.realtor. Or Facebook, LinkedIn, all of the above. I'm there. Or go to my website, contact.soldbytrivon.com.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for coming in and hanging out with us today, man. This has been a great deal of fun.
Yeah, this was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having us. And, man, this is great.
No doubt.
All right, this is Stone Payton for our guest today and everyone here at the Business RadioX family saying we'll see you next time on Cherokee Business Radio.